What's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my NFL Week 2 for key game picks. Now, before we get into those key games, kind of got to talk about Week 1 here. Now, I really wouldn't say that it was probably the most action in Week 1 that I've seen in a long time, but there was a little bit of some discussions here. Now, there's not much. I want to get this video as short as possible, so I'm not going to get into everything. But let's just get into some quick thoughts on week number 1. Now, obviously, the Patriots showed that they are the defending champions, and they showed it beating Pittsburgh. But they only beat them by a touchdown, which really, I'm not ready to say that this is the same New England Patriot team, but at the same time, too, when you're not guarding Gronkowski, of course you're going to get manhandled. Obviously, the Steelers have too many issues at defense, and Brady and Gronkowski just picked them apart, and that was fair. They made it look so easy. Now Pittsburgh needs to figure out their defense somehow, because this defense needs to get even tougher. Because if not, they could be in trouble, big time trouble, in not winning their own division. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that happen on Sunday. I think obviously the two main things were Seattle's questionable calls, plus questionable play calls, and the New York Giants clock management in the fourth quarter. Now, as far as Seattle is concerned in terms of their play calling and all, I don't know what happened in that game. Well, look, to be fair here, I mean, they trailed the entire game. I mean, St. Louis basically just took it to them in that game. Now, I'm not going to really say that St. Louis has a great defense, but their defense really did show it. And I was kind of proven wrong on a little bit on their defense, but it's only week 1, so let's just see what the Rams do the rest of the way. Now, Seattle, going to overtime, you call an onside kick after you won the toss, which really you should have kicked it off. If you don't trust your defense, why did you go for an onside kick? I mean, I know you go for risks here, but at that sort of thing, I mean, you want to win a football game here. I mean, you are the defending NFC champions, and you're a big threat in the NFC West, which other teams want to get into contention with them. But obviously, the play calling in the end, and then on fourth down, Marshawn Lynch gets stopped. I mean, that was just wow. You finally run the ball, but yet at the wrong time. That to me is just astonishing. Now, going to the New York Giants here. I mean, I can't explain what happened to them in their clock management in that game against the Cowboys. That to me was I was just dumbfounded. I mean, how can you not waste time on the clock? And this is a veteran team. You have a well-known coach in Tom Coughlin, and you got a Eli Manning who's been in the league now 10 years. How could you not know to run the ball to waste time on the clock at the time the Cowboys had no timeouts, and yet they marched down the field with fairly a lot of time and didn't stop them in the end. And that to me was just wow. I'm just dumbfounded by that. But other than that, I mean, most of what all my picks I did for week 1, obviously I nailed it right on the money. But obviously some other NFL news, obviously 2 big injuries, shrugs for the Ravens, huge loss for them defensive-wise. He's out the remainder of the season. And Dez Bryant of the Cowboys, the Cowboys are going to miss this guy big time. He's out 6 to 8 weeks, which really is going to be, they're really going to be thin at wide receiver, so that's going to be becoming a huge factor towards that time span, towards week 10 or 11 for the Cowboys. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen with that team without no Dez Bryant. Well, anyways, enough of week 1. Let's get into week 2. All right, key game number 1 for week number 2. It is the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the Thursday night game. Now, from Denver's performance in week 1, it was not impressive. It was not impressive at all. Peyton Manning didn't throw for a touchdown, and obviously he is a concern now because he didn't look that sharp, even though he did play pretty much, you could say, to an exceptional level. But now that team now has a lot of questions to answer. what is to occur of that team now with Peyton Manning now. Is he really, really struggling now? I mean, I can understand. Now, look, the guy's almost 40 years old. I mean, he's been in the league for such a long time already, and a lot of people question whether he should have retired or not. But really, right now, their offense, they got a lot of questions. I mean, their running game did look decent, but that may well be their only strong point in their offense because really they didn't look that impressive. And Kansas City, now, they beat the Texans last week, but they should have beaten them with a much higher score. They jumped out in front of them early in that game, but yet they let the Texans come back late in the game. And that to me is another question that comes to mind for that entire Kansas City Chiefs game. Is their defense vulnerable? I would have to say maybe. Maybe they're a little bit vulnerable, but we'll wait and see. Now, Kansas City, let's just see for this game now. Now, the Chiefs are 3-point favorites in this one. This game is kind of a toss-up, but not so much a toss. Not too much of a toss-up if the way Denver played against the Ravens last week. So, who do I go in this game here? I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. This may be one of my upset picks here. Now, KC's running game did look very good. Jamal Charles played very well. But obviously the question now is on Alex Smith. He did play pretty good, but now let's just see in this game what he does against a not so bad Denver defense. This one is a tough one here to pick because even though it's only 3 points, but still. Because this is the home opener for Kansas City, and Kansas City does have a pretty good home field advantage. And it is one of the loudest stadiums in the league, but it should not have to. That really should not determine how a team in terms of picking them to win. But really, KC's got their hands full. They cannot let another team come back just like they did against the Texans when really Kansas City should have blown them out. But I'll go with the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. I like them at home here. Denver, they have some vulnerabilities on both sides of the ball. So the Chiefs over the Broncos. Key game number 2, the 49ers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, it's only week 2, but I have to say, for Pittsburgh, this is a must-win game for them. No question about it. I consider them a must-win for them. Now, obviously, they need to resolve their defense. If they don't get that fixed, they can be in trouble the rest of the way. Because the way Cincinnati played against the Raiders, Cincinnati could wind up winning the division. But we're talking about Pittsburgh here. Offense, they didn't look too bad against the Patriots, but defense-wise, they got to clean it up. Cover your receivers. That's one thing. Now, the 49ers, their Monday night game, I have to admit, they did play very well, and they took it to Minnesota. But I knew Minnesota was they were kind of on the iffy side because I knew they have issues on both sides of the ball. And the 49ers did expose of it, but then again, it took them to the second, third, and fourth quarter to score points because they didn't score any in the first in that game. But Colin Kaepernick played fairly well. Obviously, Carlos Hyde, the one that replaced the running back that has now replaced Gore, really had a heck of a game last week. But really, right now, let's just see how well he does on the road here. Now, this is a 49er team that, look, like I said, I'm still iffy about that team as well. But let's just wait and see what happens with him against this game. Now, Pittsburgh is a 5.5-point favorite. I would consider maybe that game to be much closer than people will think. I expect this to be a good game here. No question, it's going to be tight. I expect this one close. But who wins this game here? I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers because even though it's only week 2, they need this game badly. I really think they need this game badly. They need to at least get on that edge to see. I mean, a lot of the football experts had Pittsburgh winning this division, and I did as well. And now they got to show that they're still the team to beat in the AFC North division. And Pittsburgh is at home in this one. As I said earlier, they're 5.5-point favorite. Probably, I would say maybe less than that, but I'll go with Pittsburgh here. I mean, this one's a tough one here. I consider this game a toss-up as well. But I think if if Pittsburgh wants to prove themselves, they need to prove it in this game. This, like I said, this is a tough one to pick. The way the 49ers played last week, if they play like this again in this game here, I expect this game to be very, very close. But I think Pittsburgh will find a way to beat them because really, 49ers, I mean, their defense played very good. But let's just see further down the line in terms of their schedule and see if their new defense can hold up. I mean, Baldwin, who came back from serious injury from the 2012 NFC Championship game. I mean 2013 NFC Championship game against the Seahawks. I mean, he just barely came back for this. He barely came back after that long injury, and all that. He's now the leader of that defense, so he's going to have to really get this defense going here. But I'll go with Pittsburgh here in a close game. Key game number 3, the Patriots at the Bills. Now, I never thought I would say that this is a key game here, but it is. But I'm going to keep this short and sweet here. Now, believe it or not, the odds makers have the Patriots as only a 1-point favorite, which I don't know what I was reading. I mean, you could look up everywhere online. I'm looking at it on my laptop, and I found a couple of websites that said they are a 1 to 2 point favorite in this one, which to me, I'm not sure about that. But now look, the Patriots played very well, but even though they only won by a touchdown, though, which really they should have blown out Pittsburgh easily in that game, and I don't know how they let Pittsburgh come back late in the second half. Buffalo's defense really did well against the Colts, and they really demolished them big time. Now, that defense, it has to step up against the Patriots here if they want to beat them, because really, Rex Ryan has only beaten the Patriots once. I think only once or twice. That's as when he used to coach the Jets. It's gonna be some time. Now look, tough to say for this one here because really the Buffalo defense did look good, but when you got the tandem of Brady and Gronkowski and Edelman and a pretty decent running game, how can you not go with the Patriots here? And that's my pick. You got to go with the New England Patriots here. Tough to say if this will be a close game, but I just think the Patriots, they're a much better team than the Bills are. And I know the Bills made some great moves and all that, but I don't know if I want to put this as a toss-up, but I have to because, you know, the odds makers have this as a very close game, and I'll say this one is also a toss-up here. But I like New England in this one. Their offense is clicking. I don't see any issues right now, but you got to go with the Patriots here. No question about it. Patriots over the Bills. And a big one here, key game number 4, the Seattle Seahawks at the Green Bay Packers. Rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. Obviously, Seattle wants to get back on track, but to get back on track, it couldn't come at a worse time when you have to go to Green Bay in this one, especially Green Bay the way they played against the Bears. You got to like Green Bay's chances in this one. Now, obviously, Seattle's defense is kind of hurting because you don't have Chancellor because he's under contract dispute right now at the moment. He's holding out. And that is really, really huge for the Seattle defense. But this is where I would say the Seattle defense needs to prove themselves now because really, you lose to a Rams team at their place. And I know the Rams played them tough, but if Seattle wants to get back on track, they need to beat the Packers here in order to keep themselves in a hunt in that NFC West, even though it's only week 2. Because I expect the NFC West to be very tight this year. For Green Bay, now, obviously, there wasn't an issue because Jordy Nelson's not there. They went to Jones for most of their catching in last week's win against the Bears. Now, the odds makers had them a 3.5 point favorite. I kind of agree with them. Might be a little bit less because I expect Seattle to be ready for this game, but it's going to be tough to say, especially when you go in the Lambeau Field. Will this game be tight? I would say it might. It might be a tight game, but unless Seattle's defense can find a way to hold Aaron Rodgers, I like Green Bay in this one. I got to go with the Packers here in this one. Their offense is very well intact, and with the Seattle defense without Chancellor, it's really going to be hard for them to really, really get their defense intact because he's really the leader of that defense and not much of Richard Sherman. So, so I would say this game might be tight, but I'd say the Packers do win this one, probably by 10 points here. Seattle's defense really is a concern. Their offense, it took them till the second half to get back into the game against the Rams. They're kind of an issue. But that tandem of Wilson to Graham did work out very well last week. That's why I say this game might be close. It'll be a close game, but I just think the Packers' offense is more intact than Seattle is. I got to go with the Packers here. Packers over the Seahawks. Okay, that wraps up for my picks for week number 2. Go to the Sport Blog at blogspot.com for all of my week 2 picks. And until then, I will see you all next week for my picks for week number 3. Until then, take care and enjoy your football weekend.